three, let's go!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Jace with Jace, the tabletop interview review show for The Adventures in Euphoria, brought to you by the Black Tower Stories. I am your host, Jace, and with me today, you think he comes here spitting facts, but turns out it's all just an act, because when he begins, the truth sets in and then we have to redact. He'll use big words that are hard to spell, sending big birds to make the tension swell, but can't make it too hard or else we'll leave since we lost our barb and it's become a pet peeve. So come in, Eric, and check for traps with a pole, because lightning strikes twice in this watering hole.
Yeah, I am very partial to the 10 dice 6 lightning damage no saving throw, and I do use big words, so like I was hoping to just pop in and say lies, and I was like, actually no, all of that is pretty fair.
I use facts and a rhyming dictionary.
Okay, I think they call that like I guess it's not a thesaurus. Never mind.
Photosynthesis. Welcome, Eric, and welcome everybody to the chat, where the DM will now be put on trial, much like Amber Heard, only no shitting in here.
Wow.
I had to get an Amber Heard joke in.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I feel like it's been a while since I've been on.
It has. It's been at least 5 weeks. There were some weeks that we just had like off weeks, so it's been a while. It's good. Let's see tension rise.
It also doesn't help that, like, it's been kind of crazy in personal lives and stuff like that. So,
damn. Oh well, I don't have to do it every week. It gives me time to not come up with an intro.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Well, welcome in here. Have you recovered fully from our very long session we had last time, which was a record for our longest stream?
Yeah. Well, it was actually kind of weird because that whole session I was fighting off a sore throat. And then I went to bed. And because of the sore throat, I couldn't really sleep and I kept tossing and turning. So yesterday did actually suck for me because I was sleep deprived. I was doped up on a bunch of allergy meds. So I was like half asleep. And because I tossed and turned all night, my back was freaking sore. So
We're too old for this game. We can't recover.
I know.
We got to recover in time for these games.
I know, and I just feel like whatever happened to when we were in high school and like we would start playing Friday at like 9 p.m. and go into like lunchtime on Sunday.
And when we did sleep, we'd be all contorted in weird position. Like, yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah, and slept on the floor. And basically, when we say like we slept, we went to bed at like 4 or 5 a.m. and then woke up at 10 a.m. and got back to playing.
Get those dice rolling.
So, and yeah, I used to run for a lot bigger group.
You over there in the corner.
Yeah.
It's your 3 turns. Come on.
Yep.
Imagine if we knew the rules. It'd be a lot, I would say, probably harder because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing back then.
Yeah, because that's what I laughed at Ari about that. Because, all those years that he played monks. And then we were playing one time, and he's like, I don't want to move through this area. I'll provoke an attack of opportunity. I was like, why don't you just make a tumble check? He's like, what? And he goes, you can make a tumble check, and that basically becomes your AC against attacks of opportunity. He's like, how have you not told me that? I was like, it's one of the key skills for your class. How have you not read it?
Like, look, I'm just here to punch things and do cool monk shit.
Yeah. So if anyone is ever seems to think that I'm like really nice, no, like if I will not tell people good things about their class, I will make them read it themselves. But
imagine how hard it would have been if I knew that I could make more than 2 attacks.
that is also true, because it took you a really long time to understand the staggered base attack bonuses.
It took
in
me
3.5.
until 4 years ago when we weren't even playing it. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
numbers here. What the hell does that mean? What do you mean I get more attacks?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yep. Aren't you happy that went away though?
I mean, I
And
played
it's just like-
Pathfinder. It was the same thing in Pathfinder, which I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
in Pathfinder.
but I mean, like, you got more attacks back in 3.5, but then the base attack bonus.
The numbers were huge. It was really hard to do
Yeah.
math anyway. It's like once I got past the 2, it started to be too much math. Like, oh, we're done here.
Yeah, I honestly think that Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 would be more fun to play if it had like D&D Beyond support. Something to calculate all those numbers for you.
Yeah, imagine how complicated that program would have to be.
Yes,
All right, which are they staggered, flat-footed? What's this? Their touch AC. You can grapple against their combat maneuver bonus. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's like, what's your spell resistance?
I don't know. Oh, we don't play that shit anymore. Okay.
No,
Well, we played for well over 4 hours last time, and I didn't go to bed till 1:30 because when it's that much stuff, my brain doesn't turn off. I was like, I gotta start thinking. Of shit.
Yep. Lot to think about.
I was like going over the stats. I'm like, wow, look at all this shit we did. Thinking about penal jokes. That was fun. Let me go over some little bit of the stats that have come up since those last 3 combats we've had. There's been no stat updates. Last week we had a guest, and so this week we have stats. So many stats. Eric,
Yeah, and we've had like 3 combats.
I know. Eric, what type of stat do you want me to tell you? Because there are all kinds of good
What
ones.
kind of a stat?
Preferably one I've taken track of.
Well, okay. I just want to sit here and go, oh, how much damage has Bearthur done versus Arthur?
That is a stat I keep track of.
Because I would assume Bearthur has made up some difference.
Yes, that is true. The difference between their attacks, the two forms of Bertha and Arthur, is 100 points. Exactly 100 points.
Oh, so you mean to tell me that in like the 2 or 3 combats he has used bear form, he is within 100 points of his lifetime damage this campaign?
If by within you mean 100 points past. He has done
Oh,
more
as
damage.
in more?
Yes, he has done more damage. 100 points more in bear form. In a total of probably 6 combats than he has the entire time as Arthur.
As Arthur. Wow.
Which you can do when you get 2 wild shapes and they come back on short rest and they just deal more attacks and deal more damage. So that's how that works. That's why the drunk is so good. The combination of that. So he has the right to bear arms. These are magical bear arms too. I still think that when he walks around in the bear form, it should be like an owl bear trek because he's got the chicken boots.
That's true. That's true. But I think that's really interesting because then you have to sit here and wonder, like that's not a good look for Arthur.
Well, ironically, I did some math and to figure out outputs and such to figure out how much does Arthur deal. To figure that out, and I wrote it down. Luckily, Ari rolls like crap generally. Like he is really bad the amount, and if you look at it, like if he doesn't have advantage, he's not hitting. Sometimes with advantage, he's not hitting either. He's unbearable. He's all just can't bear it. Ah ha 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 ha. Well, I would like to give some condolences. Applause. We'll celebrate. We're going to celebrate Arthur in bear form, as Arthur has accomplished 2 amazing features in the last 2 sessions. One of which, the most damage ever done in a single combat, of 150 points of damage that he managed to do against the multiple zombies and the ogres and the zombie giant skeleton.
Yeah, I know. I made that joke with Uzal earlier. It's like, ugh, Uzal's not doing a very good job pulling weight, but yes, Bertha has been heavy lifting.
Yes. Another interesting part of that very same fight is, actually, let me give you the second stat of Bertha. In the previous fight that lasted way too long, well, it lasted long enough, Ari also accomplished the other feat of most kills in a single combat with a total of 7. 6 of which being from the bear form. 1 he actually killed when he wasn't a bear. So 7 in the max. So yeah, Arthur's very effective in bear form. He's still effective in non-bear form, but bear form is just very effective.
It's very effective.
2 weeks ago when we had our session in the fight against the undead and the giants, Izal surpassed 1,000 points of damage total. So first character to over 1,000 points, that's a BM. Gander surpassed 400 points total. And the stat I marked here was the bear has done more damage in one fight than he had in all the previous fights combined. With 150 was more damage than all the other damage from the bear.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I honestly would have thought Gander's damage would have been lower than that.
Gander actually does a lot of output. In that fight, he did 112 points of damage in that fight.
Wow. Okay.
It's deceptive because he has a lot of highs and lows. Well, he will have several fights where he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, because I feel like he went a long time, many sessions at the beginning of this campaign, not dealing damage.
Yeah, but then the ones where he does deal damage, he usually is right up there near the top. Volred just continues to do Volred things. Lord always just averages 40 plus points every fight. So those are the stats from pretty much just that one fight that we weren't able to cover yet. Okay, sure, it's okay when he does it. Makes it. I didn't say he's laughing jokes. Read the chat.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's internet or whatever, but that's all just... I can't read any of that.
Well, on my screen it's super tiny, so you'd have to be able to read it on like a phone or something. Let's see. The other stats we had. Okay, we'll read out the totals here. Scrolling to the top. Izal is no longer the kill count leader.
Oh, no, because Arthur probably took that.
Has surpassed Izal with 30 kills now. First to 30, Izal has 27. Third is Volraid with 22.
Yep. 22.
Arthur has healed 136 points of damage.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's not bad, especially for not being a designated healer.
Mm-hmm. This one.
Yeah, 22. Yay, thanks, Britnex.
Caleb has a total of 3 kills, which is still less than Gorbeck.
Here's the thing. So has Caleb... Has he been downed? Is his downed count higher than his kill count?
He has not. Well, no, he's been downed more than he's killed people.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I would have.
4.
Yeah. So that's sad because if you consider downs as like deaths, I mean, his KDR is like less than 1. That's bad.
Oh, yeah, he goes.
That's hard to do.
Without doing any damage, though, so he's not going to kill anything.
That is true. He is very dependent on Mind Sliver, and unfortunately, like those cantrips, especially when you're doing the saves and stuff, they don't exactly scale very well.
Well, Mind Sliver scales great. For some reason, you roll really well against it, though.
I suppose that's also true.
And they have a negative modifier in their save, and they still make it.
I know.
So that sucks. I mean, they rolled real good. All right, some total stats here. The combination of Berther and Arthur is at 860 points of damage, which does not put Arthur in the lead, because as we know, Izal is over 1,000. Izal has 1,198. Which leaves me 33 behind the DM at 1,231.
Yeah, well, but I mean, action economy and all that is like definitely in my favor.
Right. Consider how many actions you're getting compared to how many I'm getting.
Yeah, but that just tells me that like maybe that means I need to up my monster count.
Well, it's not the monster count; it's the damage output.
Yeah, remember, I know, but
the damage against me is half, pretty much. So your number would be higher if you were attacking other things.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then is actually I need to start attacking and damaging other players and just not focus on Izal.
Well, it's the tank dilemma. We went over it when we talked about Omlik. It's attacking Omlik from a monster standpoint isn't an enticing target. He's covered in metal. He's got high AC and he's glowing magical aura. Probably don't want to go try to hit him. If you do, you're going to stop trying to hit him when you realize.
Omlik's problem, though, is that he had a high AC and high hit points. It doesn't bother me so much to hit you because your AC is actually pretty low.
That's the best in the group.
That's sad, but
it's a solid 17 to 18 depending on my setup. But
yeah, which is much less than Omlik's like 23.
Yeah. So that's all I'm trying to.
Then Shield of Faith for freaking it's ridiculous.
So being an enticing target is a good way. So like a barbarian does more armor, going up there trying to hit things. Something's more likely to try to hit it, leaving themselves open with like reckless attacks because you're more likely to hit them. Where you don't want to hit a bear, giant bear, you're not gonna attack a bear.
Yeah, I guess it really depends.
As far if you compare a barbarian to a paladin, you're like, well, hitting the barbarian's easier. I want to hit the barbarian. You're not going to hit the paladin more likely.
Yeah, I think it's always weird because I try not to metagame because like I know Izal's going to take a whole bunch of that, can take a bunch of a hit. But just because I know that doesn't mean like the bandits that you just randomly walked up on know that.
Oh, I know.
And so unfortunately it's like every combat, NPCs start kind of making the same mistakes and they kind of have to learn all the same lessons.
And that's the whole idea of the Visage of you're not putting on a show of shiny magic armor. You're not wearing armor at all. You just look like another wild person, essentially, who's not protecting themselves. So, more likely to attack them. Although, if you were metagaming, you would try to attack all the squishy people that have lower AC and lower hit points.
Yeah, I would try and down Arthur so fast. And Volred. Arthur and Volred.
It's pretty much everybody. You would just avoid
Yeah.
attacking me, essentially.
Well, I mean, like, Arthur's a healer. And so, and now that he's got wild shape, like, he can deal and take extra damage. So that's got to be dealt with. And then additionally, he can also heal. And Volred, if he hits with a sneak attack and stuff like that, like he does an awful lot of damage. So
Then there's Caleb, the wizard.
yep.
Can't always go for him, though. Not off the bat. Let him like cast a spell, and then you go for him. Like, well, now you're a spellcaster. Time to attack you. And so that's the damage output by the DM. Still in the lead. You're always around like 50 points above me, because it's just hard for me to catch up. It's difficult because of action economy. Caleb has finally eclipsed 100 points of damage. He was sitting at 99 for a while, and now he's at 106. Just soared on past that. Volred is sitting at 904. Still ahead of Arthur Berry.
Okay.
And Gander's at 474.
I know. I was just thinking about that. It's like, wow. I mean, Gander's is way higher than Caleb's.
Yeah.
But how much had Gorbeck done before he left the campaign?
Gorbeck did 96 points of damage if you're not counting Gorbeck's lost days.
Okay, so then that means Caleb only just surpassed Gorbeck.
Yeah,
for
he passed
total
him
damage.
the last time I did stats. Because he had just gotten to 99. He just barely passed him. Caleb's not a damage person, but you'd figure just nitpicking damage, you'd probably pick up the pace more. But nah, not him.
Yeah.
Arthur's biggest hit is now at 26 in bear form off of a crit. And the stat that I don't think I mentioned it, but the stat for the most natural 20s was 4 in that one. We were having a whole bunch of them. We had 4 natural 20s.
Yeah. I know there was that time it was kind of nice where I was rolling 20s. It's just like, wow, if only I could hit these with the big guy.
Nah, I hit the little bitty ones.
Yeah. Which means basically they're
3 damage.
didn't account much.
I could look at the numbers on mine because I was getting crit a bunch. They're just 4 damage, 10 damage. Let's see here. Okay, and now on to the math I did, because it's obvious that Arthur is dealing a whole lot more damage, and it makes it very difficult to try to keep ahead of him as far as damage output goes. But I went ahead and did the math to figure out how quickly he can catch up to me, and why hasn't he already? So, if you're factoring in key points and a maximum amount of turns you can go before you're completely tired, Arthur has 4 key points, giving him an option of 4 flurry of blows. Both of us have a first turn startup of bonus actions being used for something else. So if you go by that, in the first turn, Izal can do 27 points of damage, and the bear can do 21 points of damage on average. That's what the average rolls based off of their attacks. If you go off of a 5-turn amount, which is roughly the total amount of turns plus full use of key points, the output becomes 34 points a turn and 33 points a turn. for a total of 61 for Izal and 48 for Arthur. So I could slightly outcreep him in just bear form. The problem is he's been hasted so much, which if you haste,
Yeah.
his 5-turn output is 102 instead of 48. It doubles it. Just by adding one extra attack, it doubles his attack. It doubles his amount of damage. So he's been hasted 3 times in bear form now, I think, which means he's more likely to hit. This also doesn't factor in crits, because I attack with advantage typically, but I also just don't crit that often, so I didn't bother putting that in the stats for it. So technically, he should outdamage me with just key points. Because the key points put him at... Oh, no, I did the math wrong. I'm at 34, he's at 33. If he uses his key points for a flurry of blows in bear form, his output becomes 48 instead of 33. So he beats me on that one. And then with 5 turns, it's 102. So way more.
Yeah. But I think that means, though, that you... Because that's an interesting question, because that means essentially you and Arthur are both like really up there in terms of damage.
Yeah.
And Arthur is kind of set up with wild shape and stuff. It's almost kind of like having 2 damage tanks.
Arthur works more like, if you go by his stats of output and HP, he works more like a fighter than a barbarian. Because his max damage he can take is, I think we went over like 70, 75 or something, which is around my hit points. My max output damage that I can take is like 140. So he essentially, when bear form, acts like a fighter, wherein I act like a barbarian. And he doesn't get action surge. His action surge is similar to when he uses key points.
That's true. But I mean, he also gets spells as a druid, so I mean, I guess depending on how you talk about the play style, it's not bad. It's definitely strong.
His spells are typically used for healing or semi-crowd control. So it's almost like an Eldritch Knight, or I'd say a Paladin without the smite. But yeah, he outdamages me, and the question is, how many fights are we going to have before he passes me?
I don't know.
Because right now, if you go by the difference in our damage we've done per fights, he's beating me by about 30 per fight. And that goes into the point that Arthur just rolls really bad.
Yeah, and I mean, and if he lands like some decent crits...
That's the thing. Yeah. His crits do like 26 on it is what he's been getting. My crits do in the mid-30s.
I suppose that's true. So your burst is a little higher.
When I crit, and I attack with advantage all the time, but I just never crit. But I just hit every time, where Arthur misses like half the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to say, because
that's his
it's like
character like all the time, though. That's just how he always misses.
But I mean, it's like you mentioned earlier, like Arthur is getting hasted a lot.
Like that, it's like I miss 66% of the time. But yeah, that's about it. That's before the bear. I think what's happening is, since you're wild shaping, your staff is getting absorbed into your body, therefore you can't evade it. So it's always with you. So the curse of attacking with the staff is a part of you now.
Yeah. Just kind of sucks, though. I would be kind of interested to know that. Like, there's no way of calculating it now. But in the sense, like, if you calculated missed attacks as well, to, like, everyone's turn.
I can kind of do a rough one.
So that way we could get a real understanding of what Art's mischance is.
Because I've got all the stats, because when we have combat, I track the damage per combat. So I technically have the amount of attacks that are thrown, and you base that off of, well, if I average 3 attacks a turn, and I'm doing this, I can see how many of these are hitting. So I get a rough average. The the stat line typically goes one line for everybody. I and Arthur sometimes got 2 lines worth of attacks or damage. Now Arthur's getting like 3 every time lines worth of stats because there's a lot of attacks. He's also getting hit more often now because his AC is lower. He's a big old bear, therefore he can be surrounded easier.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay. That is it for my stats. You're all caught up. I don't know if Ari heard all of it, but next level, extra attack. Extra attack does not stack with wild shape. Just letting you know. Because if it did, that would be broken as fuck.
Yeah, because you get multi-attack instead of extra attack.
Yeah. So that is it for my stats. Now on to the actual part of the game. When we were going to that final combat, and at any point did you take a look at the clock? You're like, huh. You got like 15 minutes. Probably. What was your thought process on that?
Yeah, well, you guys had more than 15 minutes, and it was, you guys dealt with the Hellhounds pretty quick, so I was like, it's like, so it was a choice between, like, ending the stream like a half hour, 45 minutes early, or just seeing what we could cram in. And it was like, we went long.
So you're like, let's see how well this goes.
I did honestly expect you guys to get through it a lot faster than that.
We all rolled like garbage.
Yeah.
A lot of low rolls on that one.
Yeah, I know. I was really surprised because there was a lot of really weaker undead in that too. I mean, it's literally just a numbers game. But I suppose, like, to a certain degree, it's been a while since we've kind of done a lot of combat in the game. And I don't think we've really done one with that many actors. Thankfully, I kind of got through all the enemies, like, really quick. But yeah, I think it was a scenario where, like, enough people were, like, pressured, so some people kind of had to take a little bit of time on their actions to, like, really kind of figure out what's the best thing to do.
Running into an issue currently with resource management.
Yeah.
Some people get their stuff back on short rest, like our lovely drunk. Other people don't, so they can't use all their spell slots every fight. And now I think Gander's down to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
That's a tough one.
Yep. And that's good because I kind of like that because you guys get to go Nova a lot.
I don't go Nova. I only have the one option. My Nova is my hit points and how many they could take away from me.
Well, but I mean, you're getting to the point now because, like, your rages, you get those back on a long rest?
No, I just have 4. I get them back on long rest. So I can only do it 4 times.
Yeah, but, like, eventually, though, it could get into the point where you guys might have to start thinking about long resting more often to conserve potions, or you might be like, guys, I got no rest or no rages anymore, so that means I'm taking damage straight up.
No, I haven't got into fights like that. I know this is gonna suck, but here we go. We did that in the Krieg fight.
Yeah.
I was taking full damage. I didn't have any rages left.
Mm-hmm.
Ari with the comment, can you point to me where it says that? I can't pull up it to where it says that you do not get extra attack in wild shape. You get multi-attack instead, which is a different type of action.
Yeah, multi-attack exists as the animal to compensate animals for the fact that they don't get extra attacks.
It's the NPC monster version of extra attack. It still works with your bonus action Flurry of Blows because that states when you make a melee attack, you can spend a key point for Flurry of Blows or bonus action on strike. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say specifically extra attack.
Yeah. But multi-attack is different than the attack action.
Because if it
attack actions are generated by your class, multi-attack you get kind of because of the creature you are.
If it did work, then you'd be having a bear with 4 attacks. Then you'd be hasted. And seeing what the class in the fighter. I have Axis Surge, 8 attacks, bonus action, Flurry of Blows, 10 attacks plus 11, which makes you at like level 6 the equivalent of a 20th level fighter in attack output. Eric, you looking it up? Because if I pull it up, it's going to like freeze my computer if I pull up Chrome.
Yeah. Blah blah blah. Yeah, so multi-attack is a separate action that comprises of more than one attack. Using multi-attack does not give you an extra attack. I'm just trying to figure out because he asked specifically.
I don't think it's going to say in the player's handbook that it doesn't say that. That's a specific interaction.
Yeah, unless there's something in the Druids thing specifically, because if anything came up, it would be that.
I don't know if I could ask you a question. If anyone in the chat has a question, feel free to ask it for the DM. If you have a question for me, I don't answer questions. I just ask. And in case Arthur didn't know, or Ari wasn't here when I said the stats, he has surpassed over 800 points of total damage. He's done more damage as the bear now. He's also the kill leader. Oh, I didn't mention that the special for today is half off a half plate. It's a bar. While you're looking at this, I will ask you a question.
Okay.
What are the main deficiencies that you're seeing from the party so far?
Main deficiencies. That is kind of hard to say. I don't see very much. I could say that Calum's spell selection is not well optimized for combat. And so he lacks the ability, like, for example, that fight you guys just had would have gone very differently if he had Fireball. You know? So, like, there's some other spell choices that he could have done to really kind of chew through some numbers. Even if you guys had an actual cleric, like a dedicated healer, though so far you guys haven't really suffered that badly at not having one. But, I mean, Turn Undead, at the very least, would have been a nice thing to have.
Nothing but Undead, because we don't have the cleric. In the last campaign, fight Undead one time.
Well, there's always options for you guys to fight Undead. You guys just are like, nah, we're not going to do that. It's like, well, okay. But you guys fought plenty of demons and stuff.
Yeah, but they're not science.
No, but, I mean, Omlik, your paladin, sure appreciated that.
Yeah, well, he hits everything. What's an extra D8? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Turn Undead and destroy Undead would have been great. We fought Undead all the time. But I love Undead. They're so cool. Personally, I think one of our deficiencies are we don't have a lot of creativity ability in a fight. Because our main spellcasters are fairly one-trick ponies.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, Gander stuff hasn't
worked.
Yeah, I mean, really. So
it's okay, you could say it. He doesn't watch this show.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well,
I don't know. There was that one time he did.
In for like 3 seconds. He asked a question while we were playing last time. It's like, well, that was answered during Jace with Jace. You should probably watch it.
And
like, you should take a stat for this. Like, I do take a stat for that. You should watch the show.
Yeah.
I've done the stats
So.
with him here. He should know that.
But yeah, 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 I mean, it is as far as like, yeah, because like Aaron's not super. I mean, his cannon can do an awful lot of damage, um, but as far as like his spells and infusions, like they don't come up really. So it's like you could be, uh, you, yeah, you. It's okay for you to be mistaken that basically Gander is just a dude who walks around with the turret, and the turret is kind of like the real party member.
It's got hit points.
Yeah.
It has AC too. And it's immune to poison. Or psychic damage. I don't know. The reason for
Poison and psychic, yeah.
Our deficiencies are based off of the spellcasters that we have. Gander is limited by spell slots. He's a half caster. Has to use spell slots for his cannon sometimes. And so you're kind of stuck. Especially when you're going against something that's immune to fire. And fire is the type of spell damage you've selected, which has screwed over many a wizard. And Calum is a support wizard. It's just the type of spell selection, like you said, isn't quite optimized for combat. When it's just limiting. So your really options are grease and haste. What other ways can we do that aren't going to immediately impede the other members? For instance, grease is great. Half of our party is ranged attacks, though. So, well, 2 of our party members are primarily ranged attacks. So you grease and make them slip. That makes it so now our party members can't attack those specific creatures anymore. It's still a good spell. It's how you choose to use it. Sleep was good, but I mean, it's the same thing. It doesn't scale well with HP. It doesn't take out undead or elves. We're pretty much a bunch of tanks. Our craziest caster is no longer with us. Gander would have found all kinds of... Gorbick would have found crazy shit to do with the spell that wouldn't have been what the spell's actually supposed to do, but it would have been creative. It could have worked.
Yeah.
If only we had some kind of paladin. We need 3 more bards for this party. A troop, if you would. Let's see. Out of everyone in this party, how well do you think they're all working together so far? Are they getting to know everyone? This is from your perspective at the end, because you know everyone's backstories for the most part.
Well, yes, for those of people who kind of really wrote backstories. There are, yeah, I mean, I still say the same thing. I mean, Izal kind of, she is what she is, and she doesn't, and has never pretended to be anyone or anything other than what she is. So I think that while the party members might not know a lot about her backstory and stuff per se, and they don't really seem to be that interested either.
It's because I'm not mysterious.
Yeah, like they don't care. Gander, no one really seems to give a shit about Gander's backstory. Art, I mean, is a lot of the same thing. I mean, Art doesn't even know like a lot of his stuff. He just knows that he got a mama. You guys have never met the mama. No one's pressed him about any of that.
I tried to. He ignored us.
Yeah, and so there's a lot about his backstory. It's like, he's a monk. He hasn't really talked about the monastery or anything. That's kind of interesting. And then Volred, you guys don't know shit about Volred.
We're trying, though.
And he's a very effective assassin in a very creepy way. And I would also note, has demonstrably been a very effective at murdering people as long as you've known him. Like the very first combat you guys had, you know, he performed. So it's like,
I didn't see that. I was at the bottom of the boat.
right, but the people who've been around, it's like Volred has basically come out demonstrating that he is a professional in the killing arts since session 0. And so, I don't know, man. And he refuses to show anyone his face. He has this weird thing that's going on. For all you know, he might be a demon. And everyone's just kind of like, totally cool. So in a certain respect,
we're kind of like, well, if we kick him out of the group, he'll just try to kill us.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, the truth is, you guys are traveling around, and you guys don't really know really much of anything about each other, but you guys just generally trust. And I think it's an interesting question because in a lot of ways, the group did not really trust Gorbak. Now, part of that's because like Gorbak had taken some actions that like legitimately put the party at risk, and so you have to call that part out. But I mean, think about it though. Like, if it comes down to questions like, is to what extent is there a metagaming component in the sense that your characters are letting shit slide that they normally wouldn't slide, or are not asking questions that they would normally demand be answered of their traveling companions, for the sake of the fact that the players who play those characters are friends, and you can, in that sort of metagame sense, trust that person is not going to fuck you over.
I did not trust Bevo. He would have tried. I think he would have tried to fuck us over anytime.
Well, not
that's
well.
Metagaming,
okay.
Knowing that the character he made and the person, like, he could be evil this whole time.
Yeah, but yes, that is a very interesting.
I know
thing.
why I trust all the people we're with, because I think they're all just okay. They're not that dangerous. Volred's agreeably probably the most dangerous one because of his murderous tendencies, but he seems trustworthy in the fact that he's willing to show his true side of how he looks, and that's when you're covering yourself up like that for a reason. I'm like, well, clearly something's wrong. I've read plenty of stories of how these type of groups get to know each other, how they really don't get along. So I'm sort of like, well, I guess this is just kind of how they're supposed to be, and eventually there's a point where it clicks. They haven't really gone crazy murdery. Last one who did, that's not with us.
Yeah, I guess that's true, because realistically, none of you guys were really adventurers before, so like none of you really know how this works.
I read books. So that's what I got from it.
Yeah, and the worst part is like, as a Zella, you don't exactly have the best reference material.
I was like, I like to take it from a personal standpoint of learn from your parents' mistakes. Like, well, that's a terrible way to be a parent. But then I immediately inject those same ideas and let's make them a bad parent, though.
Yeah. So.
You don't look at that. You look at everything that's around the Zella in the history books. It's like, okay, look at it through, what is it? It's not rose-colored glasses, because that would mean you're ignoring things. Instead of focusing on the main character in the Zella book, you'd be focusing on what are they saying about everyone around them, and assume that they're wrong. Like, okay, well, clearly they're under-exaggerating things, where they're probably lying about the output just to make themselves seem better, or in truthful stance, like maybe they're not giving them enough credit, or they're just giving them, when they say something really, really good about them, it's probably honest in that sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be funny, because then what happens if you guys actually spend time with like another adventuring group, and then you guys are like, wow, their dynamic is completely different than ours, and
they're high functioning, they get along, They know everything about each other. Some of them are childhood
Yeah,
friends.
and it's like, what? And they're like, well, yeah. I mean, how are you going to trust a person that if you don't know anything about them? And then like some questions might have to be asked.
Turn
You
to
know?
Where the fuck are you from?
Yes, and unfortunately, it is very much seems to be the tendency with this party that I am going to have to pull out every bit of backstory and information about these characters and just have to like pay no attention to the players that are kicking and screaming.
It's like the thing you're trying to avoid? Well, here is a shiny red button that the party is going to press, and you can't stop them to figure it out.
Yeah. So, but that's fine because they're, I mean, and that stuff will, I guess, you know, kind of start having to happen sooner or later because, I mean, you guys are level 6. And, you know, before too long, you guys will be level 7. And then it's like, guys, you guys are like level 7. And, you know, it's kind of like, oh, God, you're, you know, 35 years old and you have no idea what you want to do with your life. It's like, guys, you guys are level 7.
Jeez, Eric, make us look at the black mirror here. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah, come on, guys. Like, you guys have played at being adventurers just fine, and maybe it's time you put on your, you know, big adventurer pants, your plate mail pants, and you know, maybe try to like actually have a goal and a purpose.
This party
maybe get a legitimate name.
This party does have that feel of my first adventuring party.
Yeah. And it's just those guys who've known each other since high school and just basically the same way like Axel was originally. They're just doing this so that way they don't have to deal with their own lives. They don't really care what happens in the campaign so long as they don't have to deal with their personal shit.
My drum got to business.
But hey, I mean,
I think the people have like the most interesting aspects of a character background. Probably not myself or Gander. We have interesting things that are in there, but not, ooh, this is super exciting, let's delve in. And Gander and I are two of the more open characters about our backstory. So it's there and it's open, so you don't really want to talk about it. It's like, that's boring. It's too easy. Arthur has openly tried to avoid aspects of his backstory, so it's been brought up. And Vorid downright refuses to say anything about his backstory, no matter how much we press him on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a peek behind the curtain there, the question has to be asked, what percentage of those are questions that he refuses to answer simply because he doesn't know the answer?
That's where you gotta make it up on the spot, because then it becomes fact.
I know. You know, Volred, I'm sure he's probably watching, or maybe not, but that's gonna have to start happening eventually. You know, either that or the DM's gonna have to start taking liberties.
It's like, well, he's also allergic to strawberries. Why'd that happen? I don't know.
Nope. It's like, yeah. I mean, Lord only knows what'll happen. But the sad truth is it's like some of the stuff is, you know, just kind of a work in progress, and some of it is like you gotta drag you guys along, and then some of it is also that you guys are just kind of not super adventure-y type people.
I love adventure. That's why I'm here.
True, but like in that sense, like you're running around getting jobs. Everyone else is just like, okay, he's all right, boss. What's on our list of stuff to do? I found this awesome stack of stuff for us to do while we're here. It's like, oh yeah, I want to go tour of this magic shop, and you're like, I think we should go kill a basilisk.
I open up Chrome and it immediately drug down my computer. So, nope, you're not doing that. Shut up, Chrome.
Yeah, don't you know you're supposed to have like a separate computer to look that stuff up?
No. I have the one computer, Eric. Would
Yeah.
love to stream this off of yours.
I had to stop looking because I got in a slight rabbit hole where I found a couple posts on Twitter from Jeremy Crawford basically explaining that Flurry of Blows does not work in wild shape. And so I was like, oh, before I start saying some stuff that's very controversial, let me put a pin in this and I'll research it later.
It's like, look, either you're happy with what you have or you get none of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the way Jeremy Crawford put it is, if you're a bear, your claws are natural weapons, which makes them weapons, not unarmed attacks. And so if they're not monk weapons, which they're not, then you can't flurry of blows with them.
I've had enough of that natural weapon to the council, because that's also because you can.
I agree.
You can smite with a stick. You cannot smite with your fist because it's an unarmed strike, which is a natural weapon. That's so stupid. I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, to me, it's like that doesn't make really any sense. I mean, I guess that really depends on what the kind of behind ethos is for Flurry of Blows. Like, if there's a structural reason why it has to be those weapons in particular, are they symbolic for some reason? Or is it literally just that, hey, you've only ever practiced these maneuvers with these weapons? I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So tune in next Tuesday when we find out that the bear is not nearly as effective.
Well, I mean, I don't have really any intention necessarily of.
Hey, I'm losing the damage
Emptiness.
output, and I'm fine with it. I always saw it as like, and also I think that a monk should be able to smite, but that's also not a thing. I was like, fuck that. In my game, it is.
Yeah.
Make a holy monk.
Yeah. I just think a lot of that comes down to, wording a little
I
bit.
think it's mechanical reasons.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. But in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like unarmed attacks are kind of useless unless you're a monk.
They are.
So it's like,
or a
yeah.
fighter who has the unarmed fighting style.
Yeah. So it's like,
it's a good fighting style. I like that style.
Yep. Who knows? Maybe things they fix for 5.5.
Give us options and sub-tier levels of character building. That way each class and subclass has ways of building out those classes to be different.
Yeah, and then just completely redo the ranger and the cleric.
No, leave the cleric. Fuck you. I like the cleric.
Hey, but you know what I would actually like, though this would be campaign specific? I've thought about this, like if I ever really cared to put in the time for this is one thing I would do that would be specific for my campaigns, is as far as your character backstory, I would pare down like the racial benefits so that those things are really only like racial. And then as part of your backstory, maybe I would mix it with your I can't even remember what I'm talking about. Your backstory path. Oh.
Your background?
Your background, yes. And make backgrounds either meshed with or as separately like your culture.
I think that mechanically, I think 5e works fine, and the fact that people want their stuff to be implemented more into their character building or in the roleplay aspect is something you should just tell the players to do. It's like, hey, this needs to make sense according to your story. Don't just pick it for this reason. You want to call it something else? Call it something else. But this needs to be a reason you're picking this. And actually have them do it instead of like, no, it's just numbers. I rolled to persuade them. I rolled a 30.
Yeah. I guess though some of the problem is that the way some of this stuff is kind of designed as it is, some of the more cultural aspects of some things are just kind of purely aesthetic. And so whether it's through having another section of like the background that's culture based, or figuring out a good way to handle it in game, but I I think it's sad that like where you grow up doesn't play a bigger impact mechanically with like skills that you may have possessed or other stuff like that.
Oh, it's just, that's how you build a character. That's why I don't think the rules for 5e are fluid, that we can do what the fuck you want with it. If you want to be more specific, make it more specific. You don't have to have a rule saying it has to do this. If you want a background to give you a feat because it's really good, then do it. If I made a character whose background is technically that of a farmer. Grew up on a farm, had a caring family, but they were an entertainer, and they left the farm to go be an entertainer. They had the entertainer background, but everything about their upbringing was about being musically gifted, but being on a farm. That's it. You made an entertainer. They went off to be like a bard. I don't need a background to tell me anything about them being a farmer, but I can reference it through roleplay and through story of actually having to play your character and not just playing a bunch of stats on paper.
Sure.
That's what 5e is supposed to be. It's supposed to be easy and not hardcore and crunchy.
Yeah, but that also requires players.
That's a player problem.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, yes, it is a player problem, but if that's something you want for the game and the players don't do it, then it becomes a dungeon master problem, you know?
If you don't want to have the background be part of your character, cool. Just not going to
play an Izal or a Gander.
I have a background that is everything about my character.
I know that, but it's like when we got together and we were asking some questions about your background. You're like, "Hey, just letting you know, I have no expectation or desire for any of this background shit to come into play in this campaign."
This is just
it's like
who they are, and and it's not going to be a mystery.
And yeah, and so basically, like the way it was, you and Aaron build it to me with your characters is like these characters are entirely forward facing.
What do you want to know?
It's about their arc going forward, not the shit in the back. And it's like, okay.
It's also only like 40. Like she's young. She's a young ass dwarf.
Yes, especially for a dwarf, pretty young.
Well, Eric, it's getting near the end. Can you roll me a D percentile?
Yes, but first, I actually have a question for you.
Okay, while you're doing that, I need you to pull up D&D Beyond and go to the Sorcerer Wild Magic spell list. Because I can't pull it up on mine, or it will freeze the damn thing.
Okay.
That way you can look up what the number is, because I can't. A question for me. You should have brought that up when we were talking shit.
Yeah, well, it's something that actually I just thought about, and I was like, I actually don't have an answer because I don't actually know. So, and this is probably going to be lightly spoiled, so you might have to tap dance around this. Your title of, Izal, can you technically claim that while your aunt is still alive? Because isn't there normally only ever one? So are you telling me you're... Or are you using a title you've yet to earn?
Well...
And I rolled a 67.
I don't know what it is on the dice chart.
Which is... I am frightened by the nearest creature until the end of my turn.
I am the nearest creature. A can of Dr. Pepper. It's a mimic. Oh, no.
Oh, God!
I'm not ignoring the question. The title of Izal is a title that you would definitely get. It's generally a generational thing. So each generation could have one. There is no guarantee that you can have one. But if Izal would be her aunt still be alive, she'd have to be old as fuck because she was around the same age as Alker. So.
Yeah, but that was, well, I guess that's true. That was 200 years ago.
They were on the 150 mark, so they'd be well in the 300s.
Yeah, I guess that's actually a good question because
Izal's parents died when she was really, really, even like way young. they did not survive past old age. Old age, like,
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. Is Izal, as in like your aunt, is that your aunt or your great aunt? Because it's been 200 years, and if Izal's 50, then that means you were born 150 years after the event of the last campaign, in which case
they were really old. They didn't start having a family until after the Kelder situation was done, and they spread there every decade.
I know, but that means that's like they had kids
when they were old.
Yeah, it's like they probably had kids, and then they had some kind of miracle baby when they were very elderly.
She's all Zella. A miracle baby.
Yeah, so I guess that's another thing that I was thinking about timetable wise. So
that was the last hurrah.
Yeah, it's like theoretically that should not be possible because I mean, your mother. I mean, unless it's like that's your aunt, but it was
that my mother, Alker's. It was Alker, right? Alker's.
Yeah. So.
Son.
Yeah, but if like your
father, if his wife, Alker was Izal's husband or father, and his wife could technically be younger than Alker by who knows how. Yeah. By
a lot. So yeah, he must have married really young. Because you have to think, like, at a certain point, I mean, I don't know about dwarven women, but, like, human women, like, past a certain point, like, they can't have babies.
Yeah.
Or generally.
No, dwarves are interesting creatures. They just are amazing.
Yeah, so basically what that means is, like, you could look at it one way where, like, your dad is this old dude who married a woman half his age.
Possibly. Who knows? I'm a mystery.
Oh no. Oh well. At least
I would say Izal, the aunt, is probably not alive anymore.
Yeah.
But Izal, me, heard straight from her like all the stories about it and was just fascinated by that whole aspect of it. It's like, that's so cool.
Or like maybe it was one of those deals where like Izal always wanted to travel but refused to do so long as her aunt was alive. Then
she made a promise that she'd finish school. So I say dying wish is like, you have to finish school, and you promised your dad. It's like, oh fine, I'll do it. Finish school.
Okay.
Get the fuck out. I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm gonna go see the world.
And was that your dad that you made the promise to, or
her mom? It's kind of like make a promise to them, like you will stay, and you'll be part of the family. You will finish school. It's like, okay, finished. I'm out.
Yeah.
Peace of deuces, guys.
Yeah, you're axling this bitch.
Well, I'm not abandoning. I'm the youngest of the family, so I ain't got to worry about that. All the responsibilities on them.
Yeah, you probably got like a half dozen other older siblings.
I have.
You take care of all that shit.
4 older siblings.
Well,
it's in my backstory, Eric, that I sent you. Did you not read
I know.
Backstory?
I have it, and I've
2
read
paragraphs.
I know, but like that was forever ago, and it's not like I can remember everyone's backstory, especially if it doesn't come up at all.
Yeah.
But it does mean that I need to update the family tree that I have for you guys.
Well, you are now being scared of a can of Dr. Pepper, so I would ask you who you think's going to die for the top of your death pool, but you're the DM. You could just pick someone to die. That's how that rules. That's how that work goes.
Yep. It all just kind of depends on how I'm feeling that evening.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you all for coming. I really have to go. I hope you liked watching my really crappy show. So like, follow, and subscribe. That's what I'm supposed to say. And as always, see you next Tuesday. Good night. Farewell.
Woo! Auf Wiedersehen.
Dem words, Flammenwolf.
So.
Walking hand in hand on the ocean floor, down deep we wander. Louder we sing.